back, we're live. Here we are on ThinkTech Talks Hawaii, the state of clean energy. Why? Because it's Wednesday, 4 to 5. We always do that. It's very important. Probably our flagship show, don't you think, Ray? That's Ray Starling.
Of course.
Yeah.
It is the flagship.
It is a flagship. It's a flagship of ThinkTech. That's what it's all about. And today we have a special segment with Shelly Kimura, who is Vice President of Corporate Planning and Business Development of Hawaiian Electric. Did I get that right?
Yep, you got that right.
Okay, thank you for coming down. This is really good.
Thanks for having me.
So we're going to talk about the Asia Pacific Clean Energy Summit in a while, but we want to talk to you first because you are an important story. Last week, the Hawaiian Electric responded to a number of orders that have been issued, I think, in April by the Public Utilities Commission in a large document with many facets and wrinkles in it, and people are still digesting that. I think it's too early really to say exactly what it means, but we thought you could help us. What it means, what it's intended to mean, how it's going to change the landscape, at least as far as we can imagine right now. So thank you for coming on the show for that. I consider it kind of a scoop, actually. Thank you.
It's great to be here.
So Shelly, okay, so just to set the stage, my recollection is there were three principal elements in the response that Hawaiian Electric filed to the PUC. One was we're going to triple the photovoltaic. It was going to find a way to triple the photovoltaic by 2030, which is still 15 years away. Two is it was going to make a 20% reduction in the cost of electricity in our state, across the board, over time. And the third is, and I know there are other things too, but the third is it's going to ultimately change or do away with net energy metering, because it was actually paying retail, which was, in my view, and we talked about it many times on the show, too high. It was paying too much, and and it's a good thing it got around to that, because that's a good change right there. Anyway, they're all seem to be good changes. But can you give us the context?
Of course. Those are key outcomes that we're looking for as we pursue our plan. The bigger picture of what we're really trying to achieve is we're looking to become an energy services company really focused on the needs and preferences of our customers. The goal that we have and the vision that we have is that we want the same thing that everybody else wants and what our customers want. We want affordable costs, we want clean energy, and we want reliability, because the reliability really helps us and supports our way of life and supports our economy, and that's key to everything we do. We set forth some pretty transformational goals here, and you've mentioned some of them. But one of the biggest ones is that we're looking to be, the majority of our system is expected to be renewables. The majority of our energy is expected to come from renewables by 2030. So we're looking at over 65% of our energy coming from renewables by that time. And so combining that with 20% lower costs by 2030, as well as tripling DG, distributed generation, by 2030. It's actually doubling by 2020. That's no small task in a short amount of time. One of the key enablers for us to do this is bringing in LNG into Hawaii. And we believe that doing that in the near term is important for affordable costs. But at the same time, it's going to, right now, let me back up a little bit. Right now, fuel is the biggest part of our bill, right? And so if we can reduce that part of the bill, we can do a lot in terms of making bills more affordable to customers. And so bringing in LNG is going to give us some headroom to invest in our grid, which is going to enable more renewables, lower cost renewables in the long term. So while some people think LNG is going to displace renewables, it's actually just the opposite. It's actually enabling more renewables onto our system and at a faster pace than we would have otherwise been able to do. As we talk about distributed generation, that's actually a key part of our vision as we look forward, and a key part of our strategies as we look forward. Distributed generation customers will be important in our system going forward. We're talking about 900 megawatts by the time we get to 2030. That's the equivalent to several power plants. Today, we lead the nation in the amount of rooftop solar. It's 1 in every 10 customers has rooftop solar.
Did you win an award about that recently?
We did.
Yeah.
We did. For several years, we've been in the top 5 or so.
Several years running, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And as we get to this level where more and more customers have distributed generation, we're really focused on the fairness issue going forward, because we do want a sustainable solar industry in Hawaii. We do want a sustainable growth rate of DG to get to this level that we're looking for over the long term. But at the same time, we don't want it to hurt the customers that we call full service customers, or customers that don't have distributed generation. We don't want them to be hurt by those that choose to have distributed generation. And so last year, full service customers paid about $38 million more in cross subsidies for the cost that distributed generation customers are no longer paying. And so as distributed generation grows, that number is only going to grow if we don't change the current tariffs that we have. And so it's really about fairness so that all customers can benefit from rooftop solar.
I get 3 words out of it. You know, you're free to disagree with me. One is, and we've talked about it many, many times on the show, is that you know, the top point must be reliability. I don't think people really understand that the engineers in Hawaiian Electric, their principal mission is to make sure we get the power. When we get up in the morning, turn the switch on, it's got to turn on. And you know, and people take that for granted, and they should not. You got to work to do that. You got to make sure that you got reliability.
They make it look easy.
They make it look easy.
So if people take it for granted, they're doing their job. And
that's true.
They work very hard at doing that, and you're right. The engineers are very, very dedicated. The obligation to serve, it runs through everybody's blood at Hawaiian Electric. And they want to make sure that they can keep the lights on. It's a safety issue as well. That is also key to everything we do.
So whatever we do, what's ever in the 2,700 pages, the lights have to stay on.
And that's a challenge as you're integrating more distributed generation, as you're integrating more variable renewables. That becomes harder and harder, and it's because Hawaii is leading the nation in doing this. It's not like you can look left and right at any other utility and say, okay, well, how are you doing it, or what's best practices? We're really creating the best practices.
Model.
We are the model. We are finding the solutions as we go forward.
The second word I got out of it was fairness. And I think that's, you know, you got a public that gets antsy about everything, not just electricity, but everything. You know, there's been all this contention over the past couple of years, which I think has come out of the PV interconnect issue and then sort of spreads out to other issues. But fairness is really important to make everyone feel, to make everyone confident that the utility is trying to treat everybody in the fairest way possible, even though we're in a transition now, a transformation. In fact, I call it the transformation of the transformation. You know, that's where we are. Everything is changing, and for that reason, you know, reliability is very important, but also fairness, because things are adjusting, they're changing, and so this is an important target for whatever you do.
Absolutely. So while the 10% or 11% of our customers that have distributed generation or rooftop solar are very important, and we want more customers to have that option going forward, and we want to enable that option, we're also making sure we're looking out for that other 90% of our customers and making sure they have affordable rates and it's fair for them as well.
Yeah, like me. I'm not a photovoltaic. That's the way it is. Okay, and the third you know, the third thing that comes to mind is, gee, I can't read my own handwriting. But it's oh yeah, it's reducing the price, because you know, over in that 2-year period, you know, I think there's been a transmutation of the concern about interconnect to why we peg so much, and maybe an intermingling of those two issues. Even though, you know, the truth is, and I've always said this, we've always had this discussion on the show, is if you put new technology in, it costs money to buy and install the new technology and to research it and adapt it and all the things you know, your engineers have to do. And so, you know, somebody has got to pay for that. It doesn't come down from heaven with parachutes. You have to pay for it. And so the question, and this, I was kind of waiting for your response to see how you handled this. The question is, how do you put in all this new technology to take all this interconnect, to modernize the grid in every way possible, get all the black boxes going, okay, at the same time somehow reduce rates? This is not an easy, it seems to be at odds, it's not an easy chore to reconcile one with the other. But I think what I heard you say is the trick to that is LNG. And that's how you get the rates down.
It's critical to the implementation plan because it is going to give us a reduction in our fuel costs, which enables us to then use those cost savings to invest it in the grid so we can get more renewables onto the system. And then the quicker, more flexible LNG units as we move into the future, that's also going to help enable more renewables so that it can firm up the variable generation.
Okay.
I like how you take my long-winded answer and break it down into 3 words.
He's a professional.
It's a skill, yeah.
So Ray, you've been so quiet, Ray. You're not normally so quiet.
Well, I wanted to give her, she only
Fair
has
enough.
20 minutes.
She's
with
a lady
us,
in the room,
so, I do have a question about sort of looking out there now that you've been through the last several months of sort of transitioning things. What does the company now see as sort of their biggest concerns going forward? What do you see? Is it not knowing what the regulatory situation will be? Is it not knowing whether you're going to be able to get LNG? Is it customers that say, I'm going to buy batteries and go off system? What are the things that you're now focused on going forward now that you've got a new plan?
That's a really great question. I think the energy landscape in Hawaii is changing so rapidly that we can put forth plans today and we can make predictions and we can make assumptions about the next 15 years. But there's a lot we're not going to know. There's a lot that's going to evolve over that time. And so part of our strategy needs to be making sure we're always looking at the horizon as to what's coming next, what can impact our plans, and being flexible and nimble enough in our plans to build in the optionality to be able to adjust our plans as those things change. I think that's one of the biggest differences in what we're dealing with today, along with there being many more players in the energy landscape in Hawaii impacting how we all move forward and being able to achieve that vision that we set forth. And so, Hawaii Energy is a great example with that, and we've had some really good discussions over the last couple months, and that's a relationship that we hope to build upon as we partner to do more to achieve this renewable future that we're seeking. But there's lots of relationships like that add both strength but also complexity in implementing this plan. And you brought up another good point, which was the regulatory environment. And that's something that we can't control. That's another thing we can't control. And when we look at our utility model and we look at what we want to be in the future, we have to make our utility model is made up of our business model, our operating model, as well as the regulatory model. And all those things have to work together and be in sync with each other. And if they're not in sync with each other, then our model's not going to work well. And so that is another big variable in achieving what we want to achieve. That's one of the reasons why we felt like it was important to put forth a vision, not just for our companies, but a vision for the energy future of Hawaii, and also provide common objectives that we think we're all interested in. Affordable costs, strengthen Hawaii's economy, clean energy, options for customers, and those are the kinds of things we think many of us want to provide for Hawaii. And if we can agree on that, the question then is, well, how do we get there? And the plans we put forward, we really wanted to be transparent. We wanted to build integrity into the process and how we got there, so that people see the assumptions we made, they see the trade-offs that we made. We wanted to be very transparent about that. because there may be different views on what that is, and we're happy to discuss that.
Does this mean there are going to be fundamental conceptual changes within the utility? I mean, can you go that far to say that?
Can you elaborate on what you mean?
No, I
by
don't
that?
know. It sounds to me like this reflects a difference in the way of thinking. You know, it's
Absolutely.
no longer the classical utility. It's something else. It's the, I forget you call it, you know, sort of a services company, a transmission and services company.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a change from the way it was, say, you know, 10, 20 years ago.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you know, your relationships are different. Your way of looking at technology is different. The way of looking at the public is different. And I suppose your way of looking at the regulators is different too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm always reminded of that old gag about real estate. You know, real estate is not about land. You know the gag. It's
No.
about relationships. Okay, and I have to say that energy may not be about energy. It's about relationships,
Well, that's-
and it's also about technology. You know, and it's also about you know, putting all of that together somehow. And sounds like this is going to be a really interesting experience for the company and for the way the public deals with the company. And we'd like you to come back and talk some more about it, if you don't mind, from time to time.
I would love to.
Let us know how it's going. I guess the question I would leave you with is, though, what is the next step? I mean, is it that this 2,700-page response is a self-executing plan, or is this merely something suggested at the request of the PUC for the PUC to take action on? Is that where we are?
Well, we filed it with the PUC. It's in their court. They have a docket open. There will be others commenting on these plans. At the same time, many of these initiatives have been in motion for a while. And for example, we've already put out an RFP for battery storage, which is going to be a key part of our implementation plans going forward. And that also is going to enable more distributed generation, more variable renewable generation. We're evaluating those proposals right now. We also have smart grid, our initial phase of smart grid in place right now, and we hope to implement that over the next several years across the islands. So many things are already in motion. We'll be going to the PUC for approvals on individual projects as we go, and we'll have to see where this current docket goes based on the plans that we've filed.
Good for you guys. It wasn't an easy task. Never an easy task writing anything that long. But you know, it has great promise. Thank you for coming down, Shelley.
Thank you very much, Jay.
Thank you, Ray. We'll take a short break now. We have more to come here on ThinkTech and Hawaii, the state of clean energy. We are delighted to have been able to talk to Hawaiian Electric. We'll be right back after this short break.
I'm Hong Jiang, host for Asia in Review on Tuesdays.
And I'm David Day, host for Asian Review on Thursdays. Both of us broadcast our respective shows at 4 p.m.
And my topics tend to deal with questions related to environment, culture, history, and sometimes human rights.
And my shows tend to be on international business, foreign policy, geopolitics, and national security. And you can watch our shows live on the ThinkTech website at thinktechhawaii.com.
And you can also watch us on YouTube or Olalo.
So come join us on Thursdays at 4 p.m. I'm David Day.
And on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., I'm Hong Jiang.
Aloha.
Aloha.
I'm supposed to sit on the side.
Aloha kako. Hello everybody. Ted Ralston is my name, the host of the ThinkTech Hawaii program, Where the Road Leads, where we talk about how technology is assisting in achieving the future of business and life here in Hawaii. Tune us in 4 to 5 every Friday where we have guests, we have subjects to discuss. In fact, if you'd like to suggest a subject, let us know. And we're of course on Olelo 54 as well. We'll see you then.
Malcolm, yeah, we got him now.
Aloha, my name is Willow Chang Elion and I host a show called The Art of Life. We air live every Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. And what we do is basically we focus on individuals who create a unique sense of place for Hawaii. These are movers and shakers, artists, innovators. They are also traditionalists. They're all involved in the archival process and they make this place a unique place, one that makes Hawaii a richer place to be. I hope you do join us, and certainly tell your friends about the show, whether they live here or they live abroad. It's a way to give back to our community. We're keeping it Pono.
All right, so we got...
Okay, we're back, we're live, we're here in the state of clean energy with my, my co-host, Ray Starling, and we just had a discussion with Shelly Kimura of Hawaiian Electric Company about their recent submission to the PUC. We'll be continuing that story as we go forward. It's great to have a representative PUC, representative of Hawaiian Electric come down and talk with us. Anyway, so now we're going to go into the main part of our show. We're going to talk to Matt Laudon, and he's with APCES. That's the Asia Pacific Clean Energy Summit coming up very soon. And Malcolm Woods, he's with DETC, which is Defense Energy Technology Challenge. And they join us from far away by Skype. Hi guys, say hi to the people.
Hi, how are you? Hello, how are you?
Great. Okay, we're going to get into it, but we have to take one moment for energy efficiency. So we have John Ray from Hawaii Energy, and he's going to tell us what he needs to tell us in something about 45 seconds. Ready? Go, John.
Okay. So last Friday, Hawaii Energy launched the Hawaii Energy Efficiency Auction. This is a new tool that we've put out really to look for opportunities for contractors, ESCOs, others in the energy business to submit their ideas to us for energy projects, either something that is more cost effective than what we do as a program, or maybe bringing something innovative to the table that we're not currently doing as a program but could make a big difference here in Hawaii's energy efficiency markets. There's about 1 month to reply to this. September 29th is the deadline. Recommend people go to auction.hawaiienergy.com, pull down the request for applications, read through it. If there are any questions, they can contact me directly.
Another great idea from Hawaii Energy. Stirring the pot, as it were.
Stirring the pot, trying to find things that we haven't used before.
Never rest on your laurels. You never do. It's wonderful to see you guys so creative. Gosh. That's what you got to do, though. Remember, repetitio mater studiorum. That's Australian, by the way. Repetitio mater studiorum. It means repetition is the mother of study.
Wow.
You can use that.
You continue to amaze me.
Okay. Thank you, John. Now you can enjoy our conversation and be part of it. So, Matt Laudon, so coming up soon is the Asia Pacific Clean Energy Summit. Tell us what that is and tell us about the competition.
Sure, thank you very much for having me on here. So the Asia Pacific Clean Energy Summit, this is the 5th year we've been running this program. It's coming up in just a few weeks, actually 2 weeks, there at the Convention Center in Honolulu. It's a combination of programs that range, focus on clean energy needs and activities for the state of Hawaii. Also, we bring in technology providers from around the world. We ended up with about 41 countries that were represented last year, bringing technologies in for the event. Embedded within the event is parallel programs on defense energy, which I'll mention a bit more in a second, agriculture innovation, and also just general islands resiliency. So island needs, whether it's energy, water, waste management, food management, etc. So it's a 3-day program, and Hawaii Electric's been a big supporter and helped us out with this over the years. And specifically, I think today you were having us talk a bit about a defense energy technology challenge that we've run now for about 4 years. In which we do a call for innovations from around the world in areas that the Department of Defense has identified as key needs for them. And we bring state-of-the-art solutions then to the event, and during the event these companies will pitch their technologies to the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Corps of Engineers, and also there'll be a number of showcase technologies that will be on site. We'll have about 50 companies with prototype type technologies there that they'll be showing at the event.
Well, you have evolved actually in the past 5 years But I do recall that even at the very beginning, you were dealing with, defense. And there were a number of people who attended your original summit in Honolulu at that time who were involved in the defense industry. So I guess in that sense, nothing has changed. But certainly the show in general, the summit in general, has evolved. It's more sophisticated now because the issues are more sophisticated. No? Can you give us a handle on that?
Absolutely. We approach it more from a resiliency concept where we're looking at, a range of issues from, whether it's energy, water activity, and added this agriculture component this year as well, which obviously has overlap with energy in many situations. But then the state itself, it's, there's, following the original initiative, the Clean Energy Initiative, we've gone through the phases of where that started, different projects that have been implemented, multiple changes of governance, and the like. And so it's evolved as the state's evolved as well.
We're going to take a short break, if you don't mind. That's Matt Laudon, Laudon, I think you spell your name right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, and Malcolm Woods joining us by Skype. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hi, I'm Donna Blanchard, and I host the show Center Stage on the ThinkTech Hawaii Digital Series right here every Wednesday from 2 to 3 Hawaii time. I would really love to have you watch the show and see what we do here. I talk with some of the most amazing people, artists, most of them, all of them involved in some sort of artistic process. And our goal here on the show is to dig into that artistic process, and you would not believe what some people say, what some people do, what people go through to express. And these are people who have to express somehow, and I find that infinitely interesting. Not only that they have to express, but how they end up doing it. I really hope that you will watch the show and enjoy talking with some of these people the same way that I do. Thanks, and I hope to see you soon on Center Stage on the ThinkTech Hawaii Digital Series, Wednesdays from 2 to 3. See you soon.
Okay, we're back, we're live, and finally we're alone, almost. Ray Starling, Matt Laudon, and Malcolm Woods, alone, so to speak. So, I got the thing about Malcolm being in New Zealand, but what about Matt? Where are you, Matt?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
I knew that. I could have guessed. Because I knew the guys who put the APCES together are from Austin, and always have been, do good work. Anyway, so let's turn to you, Malcolm. You're in a competition. Why are you in the competition? What are you competing for?
Well, I guess what we're really competing for is some chance to expose our technology. Being in Hawaii at this event is just a great way for us to tell the world what we're doing.
So what is the nature of your project?
What we've been doing for quite a while now is developing a way of starting electric motors on basically three-phase motors on a single-phase supply. There's a lot of reasons for this technology being useful because a lot of the world's regions, they just have a single-phase supply line or they use small generators. And so since a lot of products come out with a three-phase motor, there's some difficulty for them to run those motors. And the way we have approached this is to make it possible to run three-phase motors on a single-phase supply and to do it in such a way that you overcome a couple of other problems like inrush current and motor heating and so on.
Why isn't this classified?
Well, why would we classify it? I mean, it's there to be used. We just want to get it in the market now.
Okay. So
Mr. Snowden did away with that.
So you're coming up here in a little while, right?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'll be up there for the whole of the summit, yeah.
Okay, and so you're coming up with equipment? I mean, what is it like to come from New Zealand and participate in this competition in Matt's summit?
Well, it's going to be great. I will bring a unit with me. It's fairly small. It's about the size of I suppose, an average lunchbox, so it's quite portable and we can bring it around. That's one of the advantages we have because the product's very portable. And so this is what we'll be presenting to the defence teams. They can use quite a small generator for the same output they get with a much larger generator. And so the portability is quite an advantage, and we'll be talking about that.
Well, Malcolm, without, no pressure now, but why exactly should you win the competition? I'd like to know. Tell the people why you should. Tell Matt why you should win.
Not my choice.
Well, you could say I've got a prejudice on this, but we think we've got some pretty good technology. It's a very innovative idea. It's the first time anyone in the world has managed to start an electric motor the way we do it. It uses a new technique which makes use of the magnetic properties of the motor, so you don't have a lot of heat build up. It's well proven. We've been developing the product now for quite a few years, and it's been tested. And we've evolved a little bit of knowledge around the product now, so we can see a lot of applications for it. And we actually think that with the defence, the kind of requirements they have, the chance to work with them would produce some very interesting opportunities.
Well, who knows? You get to see who the competitors are. You might learn something. Certainly they'll learn from you. So, Matt, where does this kind of challenge, the Defense Energy Technology Challenge, fit, in the summit? I mean, you have a lot of challenges. You have a lot of, competitors in this challenge and those challenges. Where does it fit in the, sort of the way things are organized in the summit?
Sure, it is a key component of this event. The defense program, the challenge program, starts on the Monday, and that evening there's actually a showcase of companies that have submitted in or are part of it. We have a similar program that for agriculture innovation, and it starts the next day. But that defense challenge is really a key story. We had over 200 companies that submitted in, and Pacific Command and each of the armed force branches come and participate. They're really prospecting for state-of-the-art solutions with the Department of Defense for energy specifically.
So if I want to come, I am coming, by the way. I'm coming as press. We're bringing a camera. No
Great.
Pressure, Malcolm. But if I want to come and hear Malcolm's presentation, I'll be able to hear it, right? I'll be able to hear all the people who are competing in the challenge, right?
That's correct. Yeah, all of this everything's done out in the open. All of the technologies. The Department of Defense's interest is in dual use for many of these technologies. They're looking for opportunities of technologies that may have been used in the building industry or transportation or elsewhere that they're able to use to help reduce their energy costs, their energy dependence, support the warfighter. And so it's a larger story. Especially around energy and defense energy that'll be presented there as well. We'll have one of the keynote programs. We'll have one of the directors from the Navy speaking about their needs, and we'll also have a video, a shortened version on a movie called The Burden that's just talking about the huge energy burden that the military has carried. And we look at the military as an accelerator to get technologies such as Malcolm's company, FastTech, out into industry, out into society, and get as many of these clean technologies, energy efficient technologies, whether it goes into the Department of Defense or dual use out into industry in some other manner. That's the goal of this challenge. So.
How many competitors are there? Would there be, for example, in the Defense Energy Technology Challenge? Roughly,
sure.
Roughly.
There were about 200 that submitted this year for Hawaii, and there's 14 that were selected to present. And then out of that 200, there's a total of about 50 that will be on site, also showcasing their technologies. So, but there's around 14 that were selected as finalists that will present, and then another 8 that will be that were semi-finalists. So a total of around 24, 25 that'll be presenting actually pitches for their technologies.
Well, that's great. Well, congratulations so far, Malcolm. It sounds like you're, well along the way to succeeding on this. But let me ask though, what are the stakes? Is the stakes that if Malcolm does a good job and you know, appeals to the you know, the defense industry that shows up, does that mean he's going to get contracts? Is that what he's looking for? What's the end of the road here on the challenge?
Sure, I can give some examples of past years. You know, we've had companies that have come through that have worked through procurement programs or ended up with test programs with the Department of Defense, and that's actually one of the best results with the Department of Defense, and is where a company would end up in some sort of prototyping or rapid testing program, and that helps lead those companies to other corporate partners or investors. We've had other companies that have come in, and then defense primes have somewhat cherry-picked them out, saying, you know, offering them licensing agreements or investment opportunities. And in some cases, some of those defense primes have helped co-write grants to help, to help support the companies to move forward. So, you know, there's all ranges of commercialization activities that take place, and it all somewhat depends on the commercial maturity of the company that's presented.
Well, but going back to the point of the evolution of the Asia Pacific Clean Energy Summit, it sounds like it has become a gathering place for energy entrepreneurs to pitch their technologies. It has become a place for people to come and listen to those pitches and maybe to buy into those pitches. Effectively, at least in that sense, a marketplace. How many people do you expect will show up in total, Matt, for this coming summit?
Over the 3 days, we'd expect around 1,200 that'll be there. There'll be different groupings depending on the topic, so some of the people will be there for a day and a half or so, but the numbers usually work out around 1,200. So that would be the expectation.
Okay, and how many of those 1,200 are you bringing with you, Malcolm?
2. So we're not going to take up a lot of space.
Okay, just checking. So Ray, what have you got for rebuttal, cross-examination, interrogation, deposition? What have you got?
Well, I want to talk to you about your sound system in here. I can't hear a word they're saying. You've got your earpiece in and I don't.
Oh,
so
sorry. Okay.
You guys look great.
All right. Sorry about that. Well, let me go back to why don't we get a sound system for Ray? Let me go back to Matt. Matt, what days exactly is the summit taking place, and how do I get in? I mean, how do I sign up as a member of the public to come and see it?
You bet. So there's the event is September 15th through the 17th, and so that's Monday through Wednesday. Registration is online at resiliencesummit.com. And from there, you know, that houses, you know, all of the programs. The full program is up online, and it's pretty easy to sign up. There is a version. There's an expo that takes place, and so there is an option to go. Also, just to you can go while you're there. In addition to the showcase, there's also an expo program, and there's around 50 companies in there as well. These are more mature companies that have actual clean energy products that they're selling.
So who would be interested in coming? I mean, what part of the energy community, you know, is it people like Malcolm and entrepreneurs who would like to find a place to pitch? Who is it? I mean, what's the demographic, if you will, of your attendees?
You bet. It really seems across the whole energy, you know, ecosystem. We have investors that are there. We have a lot of entrepreneurs that are there. We have landowners that are there looking for project development, project financiers that are there. A pretty large community of large corporations that provide larger, you know, project development activities. So So it ranges from the startup all the way up to the larger corporation. We've had a lot of support from the University of Hawaii, but we also have universities from all over that are coming as well, presenting. And there's a research community too, really at the base of all of this, that are showing kind of the newer technologies that they're working on. So it's the gathering, we feel, of the entire clean energy ecosystem, you know, in Hawaii, and from all the folks we bring in from off island.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. I mean, so this is happening in Hawaii, and we know the defense industry is coming. They want to listen to Malcolm. But, you know, what specifically about this is Hawaii? Is Hawaii special? I know you do other energy summits elsewhere in the country. What makes the Hawaii summit different? What makes it, if anything, what makes it special?
I mean, absolutely, Hawaii is a special case in the country. You know, the price of energy that you face in Hawaii, the initiatives to try to create a clean energy, a resilient sustainability effort there in Hawaii. It's really unlike anywhere else in the States. You know, many of the companies that we deal with, especially the early stage companies, view Hawaii as the perfect test bed for their product. And then with Pacific Command being there as well, who has significant interest in energy and is tied into some of these energy projects, it really makes it a unique story. And we have innovation delegations that come over from Taiwan, from China, Korea, Japan as well to participate. It's a way to concentrate in one location and start the discussions with the rest of the states, and at the same time, be able to build relationships with Hawaii, the closest state, on energy aspects. And so it is incredibly unique as far as a community to address these needs. So the difficulty is the distances by far, which is we're working with a global community that has an interest in these topics, and they want to be there, and it's just it's a long trip for everybody to get there. So.
But if I attend, it sounds to me like I'll be able to meet some of the most important energy players in the country, and for that matter, the world. And I'll be able to I'll be able to meet Malcolm, which is very important. Malcolm, I'm looking forward to that. But I'll also be able to meet all the technology guys, so I can find out the latest and greatest technology, and so can the utility, for that matter. God, it sounds like a wonderful place to be if you're shopping.
Yeah, and the Hawaiian community has been very supportive. As I said, Hawaiian Electric has been there. Ulupono Initiative has been a key partner in helping us put together the pieces for the event. There's an energy accelerator program there in Hawaii that'll be showcasing every day. We're going to have Hawaiian companies that the accelerator is incubating, helping along. Every day they'll be pitching some of those companies during the keynote sessions to this crowd. So we're doing our best also to promote Hawaii companies that have one of these solutions.
Well, it sounds like this could be the best one you've ever done. Am I right?
Absolutely. It's always the best one, and this is by far the best one. I think actually the topics that are being covered, the robustness of the event, this is really a unique story, and we sold out the expo, we sold out our showcase space. It's really came together well this year.
Malcolm, maybe this is a sign for you to come early. Change your flights, get in a little early, check it out.
Well, I'd like to do that, but you know, it's such a popular event, or maybe Hawaii's just a great place to be, but all the flights were booked out long ago. So it's going to change.
I know it's terribly unfair for me to ask Ray Starling to make closing comments because he couldn't hear you for a lot of that. But Ray, take a whack at it, will you?
Okay. Well, you know, I think everybody who has any interest at all in resiliency here in Hawaii, and they've expanded this conference. This is the first time where they've gone into subjects beyond energy, and it's called a resiliency conference, which has various components, energy being one. So with that, it's a great conference to come to, no matter what your interest is in Hawaii. It will be covered in some way at this conference, and I think it's going to really be a game changer this year. This will not only be the biggest and the best, I think it will start something going forward that's much broader than the energy picture that we were looking at when we first started.
Yeah, so it shows you two things. You know, one is that this is the transformation of the transformation, and you, Matt, you're in the middle of it, like it or not. So are you, Malcolm. And another thing it shows me is that, as I mentioned before in the show, energy is not really about energy. It's about relationships.
Very true.
Yeah, you're agreeing then.
Absolutely, especially in Hawaii.
Well, thank you, Matt Laudon. Thank you, Malcolm Woods. Thank you, Ray Starling. This is Hawaii, the State of Clean Energy, talking about the Asia Pacific Clean Energy Summit and the Defense Energy Technology Challenge soon to happen. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Aloha, and we'll see you soon. We'll see you at the summit.
Well, thank you very much.